So after my sister and I say that my dad had something to do with it, they ask us why do we say that, and we said there's no reason for our step cousin's DNA to be on or underneath my mom's nails. My mom had not seen my step cousin in years. So there was no reason for his DNA to be under her nails. He didn't know anything in regards to like how my mom, when my mom would leave for work. He didn't know where she worked. He didn't know her route. He didn't know none of this stuff. So in order for his DNA to be under her nails, he was the murderer. That's what we're thinking. We're thinking he's the one who did it because there was no other explanation, literally. I know people are wondering, like, well, if they had his DNA back then how did it come about that he's the one that did it pretty much, 20 years later? The DNA that they had back then, he was not in the system back then. So they had no DNA to compare it to. He didn't get in the system until, I want to say, maybe a few months after she passed. And at that time, they had already had her boyfriend in jail for her murder, or in custody for her murder. So they felt no need to run the DNA at that time. They reran it again in 2018 because of the Innocence Project. The Innocence Project said, hey, you guys got this DNA that you guys never had a hit on, run it again. So when they ran it, they got my cousin's DNA. That's how they ended up getting his. His was put in the system because he sexually assaulted someone. And that came out later on. He sexually assaulted someone in the house where my mom was murdered, the house that her and my stepdad shared. So after her murder, my cousin ended up moving in along with my stepbrother, moved into the house, and my cousin ended up sexually assaulting a woman that was seeing my stepdad. He was then told to leave the house, and once he left the house, the police did pick him up for that. So that's how they got his DNA once he went to jail for that. When they told us that, we just sat there to listen to them. They told us that they were late getting to us because of the fact that they were meeting with my cousin Joaquin, and he told them that he had never in his life met my mom. And I said, that's a lie. He told them he's never seen her before. He said that there's no way that his DNA is under her nails. And they told him it was, and he didn't believe them. He thought that they were not telling the truth. He was adamant with them that he had never seen her, never met her, don't know nothing about her, anything. And when they told him, oh, this is your uncle's wife, he said, well, I've heard about her. I heard that she was murdered, but, I'm not the one who did it. Needless to say, the investigators didn't believe him, but they wanted more. They needed more to bring this to a head, pretty much. So they told us that they would be speaking to my dad the following day. And the following day they did. They drove out to Riverside and spoke to my dad. And my dad was like, there's no way that his DNA is on her, because if it was, you guys would have picked him up. And they're like, well, DNA doesn't lie. It's pretty concrete. And he didn't believe it. I think in his mind, he felt like they really didn't have anything, because if they did, they would have ran it so many years ago. I think that's what he was thinking. So they asked him for his DNA, and he willingly gave it to them. No fight, from my understanding of it. He didn't fight them on it. He said, okay. And he gave it to them willingly, because I really truly believe that he thought that they were lying to him and that he had gotten away with murder. I really truly believe that he thought he got away with murder and that they're just BSing. So that happened, and then maybe a couple of days later, they tell us that they, got my stepdad's DNA. Then they also tell us, hey, if you want, you can go out and you can speak to your dad in regards to everything. And I say, okay. So what I did was I ended up calling a family meeting. That family meeting consisted of my stepbrother, my eldest stepbrother, my stepsister, my other stepbrother, myself, my sister, my younger sister, and my younger brother, and my stepdad. Call the meeting. We drive out to Riverside. Oh, I'm sorry, and my sister-in-law. We all drive out to Riverside, and we meet at my stepdad's house. He had cooked, and upon entering in the house, we're all hugging, laughing, talking, just being a normal family. And we're about to start talking, and as I open my mouth to say something, my stepbrother, he walked out the room, and then he walks back in, and he's like, I gotta go because I gotta pick up his stepdaughter from school. So we were like, okay, no problem. So he gives us all hugs, kisses, and he leaves. So remember how I said before that when we were looking for my mom, my stepdad wasn't there? Because as a kid, I didn't question that. But now as an adult, I'm questioning. So I asked him, I said, Dad, how come you wasn't out looking for Mom when she was missing? And he was like, well, I didn't go look for her because your uncle threatened me. And also because everyone thought that I did it. So I just wanted to keep my distance. And I'm like, there's nothing in this world that would keep me from looking for my children's father. Regardless of what's going on between he and I, he's the father to my children. And my children deserve to have their father in their life. So if he's missing, I'm gonna go look for him. That's me. I understand that's me, but I feel like the average person would do the same. So for you to not go out looking for your wife, the mother to your son, and say that, her brothers threaten you. So, and then for the one brother that he said threatened him, which was the one with the green eyes, he's the most soft-spoken one of the soft-spoken ones, quiet. You would never think that he would say something like that. If you knew him, you're like, there's no way in the world he threatened you. No way. Because he's not that type of person. We asked him, how come you didn't call the police when she was gone for so many days? How come you didn't do that? I don't know. That's his answer. He didn't know. He didn't know why he didn't call the police.